I watched a lot of these live streams from these bands. It was great entertainment, but a lot of them were so polished and produced that it was basically just like listening to a record. It was couldn't hear any mistakes in there, and there was not even the faintest noises out of place. So for this one, we just wanted to give a very real vibe, live off the floor kind of thing, and yeah, just see what happens.
Ghost Cold Magazine welcomes in Cody Ford of Soen. How are you doing today, sir? Happy Friday. But yeah, super excited to talk to you about the new Soen live album, Atlantis. It's been, a very prolific bunch of years for the band. And so I wanted to kind of start by talking about this project specifically and, sort of what was the impetus to kind of do this kind of a different kind of Soen record.
Yeah. We Martin probably came up with the idea, but we toyed around with it as a band for some time, thinking that it would be a cool thing to do. And and I think we really thought that the band was capable of doing something like this because we're very accustomed to doing softer songs. We have a lot of ballads in our albums and set lists, and so we thought, it might be a fun project to just go ahead and reimagine a lot of these heavier songs and see what would happen, I guess, if we added some orchestration and just kind of change the vibe, change the feeling of it, and maybe add even more depth if we can. That was it. And then we thought, if we're gonna do this, let's do it up big, and let's do it in the most renowned studio in Scandinavia, and film it, and just go all out, make it a big production. Why not?
Go hard or go home.
That's it, man.
That's what's up. And yeah, I love that. And I've spent a lot of time with this one. I usually listen to a promo a few times, especially if I'm not reviewing it personally, with another person reviewing it for the site. And I knew I was going to chat with somebody in the band. It is you needed the box of tissues with this thing, man. The whole band came to play, and I love the arrangements, and there's so many things to unpack. But I do want to say, Joel is the MVP of this thing. Just like this format suits Joel, or Joel suits the format so well.
He does.
It's hard to put into words, but yeah, it's just his performance is magnificent.
Oh, completely. It's a pleasure to be in a band with him, and he's always pushing himself to the next level. He takes his craft very seriously, and I think a lot of people recognize this, that he seems to outdo himself every album. And if you kind of compare his vocal performances on Imperial to Cognitive, I mean, it's the way his voice has evolved and what he's able to kind of do with his voice and the notes he's able to hit. And it would be very easy for somebody of his sort of stature, and he's built up a great reputation for himself too at this point, to kind of think, I'm a vocal star, and I don't need to, I've got it. I've got the talent. I don't need to go anywhere from here, But he, the amount of time he puts in practicing, he takes vocal lessons, and yeah, I think it's important for the general vibe of the band, where everybody is kind of pushing themselves to always get better and better. And it's a really special thing to play a guitar in this band, to be able to listen to Joel every night. I mean, he's an incredible singer, and yeah, like you said, he's the Atlantis was a perfect scenario for him. What he did throughout that entire show was magical, for sure.
Right. Was it always envisioned as like a one full performance, or was it was the approach like, let's just arrange the songs, see what we can pull off, and then do this full? Was it always a full scope production?
Yeah. I think yeah, like I said, we wanted to do it up big. A lot of bands, especially during the pandemic, right? You sort of you wanted to continue to be productive as a band, but you couldn't tour, so you kind of had to be creative. And a lot of these bands were doing live streams, and we thought we wanted to kind of take it to the next level and do something a little bit different, but something super sort of authentic. And I watched a lot of these live streams from these bands. It was great entertainment, but a lot of them were so polished and produced that it was basically just like listening to a record. It was couldn't hear any mistakes in there, and there was not even the faintest noises out of place. So for this one, we just wanted to give a very real vibe, live off the floor kind of thing, and yeah, just see what happens.
Did you personally have to adapt any of your playing to a different arrangement to account for the orchestrations that were going to accompany the tracks?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I found that during the rehearsals, the musicians that are classically trained, they play with a very different feel than than I play with every night, especially with Martin and his sort of his Latin background. It's a very loose kind of behind the beat kind of vibe, right? So classical kind of musicians are a little bit more on the beat and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a little bit, I had to shift a little bit to be tight with them. And it's one of those things. So you're kind of playing, you're listening to each other, right? And you're finding a nice middle ground. But other than that, yeah, I mean, you have to take into account the entire scope of the frequency spectrum, and somebody's got to mix all this shit afterwards, right? I mean, what a nightmare. I mean, it's not easy to take a metal band and put an orchestration, and then you have like a double bass player and a cello player and a bass player, and it's like, holy, I mean, that's a lot of bass frequencies happening as well. So yeah, there's some things that you have to keep all of that. You have to keep all of that stuff in mind. I mean, sometimes you're not needed in places where you usually are, and sometimes you just have to play something a little bit different. And yeah, but that's part of the fun of it all. I mean, it's you you have an idea of how it's going to sound, and you hope it's going to be good, and then yeah, it turns out the way that it does, and it turned out pretty fantastic, I must say.
I agree. Not only I can't even imagine I had a classical upbringing, and I can't imagine sight reading and following along with these time signature changes and things without like massive amounts of rehearsal. And I wasn't that good at sight reading anyway. So I can't imagine how hard that is. And not to mention, I love that you mentioned the mixing, because there's definitely a space where stringed instruments, electric guitars, and maybe certain frequencies of percussion instruments are all fighting for space.
Yeah,
Theoretically, the sonic range, like China's and crashes and things,
totally.
will interfere in the range, or could
Yep.
theoretically interfere in the range. You don't want them to, right? So it sounds amazing. I can't imagine hearing this. I just heard this thing on my headphones on my setup here. I can't imagine, what a hi-fi setup this thing would sound like on vinyl or something, mixed
Yeah,
appropriately.
yeah. I mean, credit goes to David Castillo. He did an incredible job. A really, really incredible job. I mean, I can't imagine it sounding any better, really. And when it premiered, I watched it at my parents' house with my family, and a lot of friends came over, and they've got a really nice sound system on the big screen and everything, and it was my first time kind of viewing it in its completion. And I mean, I was just blown away. I was sort of watching it as a fan almost. I thought it was great. It felt nice to just sit back, relax, and enjoy it all, because it was a very special experience for us.
Nice. Now, in terms of live, you guys are about to go on this big tour. I was super stoked to have you back in North America
Yeah.
once again. Just so exciting. It's been a minute. Are you guys going to play like a standard set? Are you going to try to incorporate some of these newer renditions? How is that approach going to be?
Yeah, I mean, this tour is your sort of standard, um, metal show, if you will, right? We have done three, I guess, three of the Atlantis shows. Uh, one in Mexico City, one in Chile, and then one recently in Zotomir. And yeah, they all went great, but it's a lot more work and preparation. You need to hire local musicians. You need to give them all the scores and make sure that they know how to play everything. And then typically the only time you have to rehearse with them is the day of the show during sound check. And so it's all very crazy and nerve wracking. And of course if we're talking numbers, it's a lot more expensive to put on these shows because you got to pay all of these musicians as well, right? So it's not, we won't be doing that for this American tour because it is our first American tour, right? Our North American tour. We've done a small number of Canadian shows before, but yeah. So they've kind of been waiting for years and years for the heavy set, right? So that's what we're gonna give to them.
Right. And I feel like the Imperial material didn't that was an unintentional rhyme, but I feel like that material didn't really get a chance. That you just put that record out during the height of the terribleness and in the whole world and for the industry. So I feel like that, that material didn't really get to its own chance to get heard.
Exactly. Yeah. It's still very much an Imperial tour right now. So I guess this is sort of the last Imperial tour, if you will, right? I mean, we've done Europe and Latin America and then festival circuits, and so now it's all about North America. And yeah, I mean, just promoting this album and yeah, I mean, we're excited to get the to get the vibe of some new audiences and meet a lot of the kind American folk. Yeah.
Awesome. And I'd be remiss to not mention, I don't know if this is a thought for you, but please play the Slipknot cover live. Even the full version, like, I know it's not practical, but like, it's such a good cover. So many covers are so paint by numbers, but I feel like the band made it their own. Such a cool surprise of all the things on that record that are surprising. That's maybe one of the biggest.
Yeah, and we knew it. We wanted to throw the fans some curveballs, with a cover and a new track, exclusive to Atlantis, and we were really ecstatic with the way that cover turned out. And like you said, I mean, Joel really shines on that tune. He just absolutely kills it, man. I mean, just the ability to kind of have that vulnerability in his voice and do the song justice, and then the way it kind of crescendos into this super really passionate part, and he kind of belts it near the end there. It's just it's a pleasure for me to listen to, for sure.
Yeah, it's so killer. And then just is there a tentative plan for 23 or anything you can share yet? Maybe you can't share yet.
No, I mean, yeah, things are always in motion. Right now, we're working on another record. So, any time that we had, anytime when we have downtime, right? We have to work on the new stuff. It was just such a busy year with all of the touring and just not a lot of time to focus on writing new stuff. So that's what we're doing now. Yeah, I've been spending a lot of my hours lately just recording some guitars for new songs. But next year we'll hopefully get in the studio, record another record. We're hoping to play a lot of, because we've played the Imperial tour sort of all over Europe and Latin America, North America. Now we're hoping to hit some B cities, we kind of call them, some cities that might not be as prominent on most big tours. And then it looks like it's going to be a heavy year in terms of festivals. So sort of more of like a festival tour type thing in the summer. So we're excited for that. Some festivals, in Latin America as well. It's going to be another busy year, man. We keep rolling.
Terrific. We love to hear it. We love to see it. Thank you so much for this new record. What a nice gift late in the year. And we're looking forward to this tour. I think we're going to be covering the New York City date. So our people will be there, not me personally, but somebody from our staff. And yeah, man, just keep doing what you do. And thanks so much for everything. And cheers to you and the band. Congratulations on everything. Thanks for hanging out with Ghost Cult. I appreciate you.
Cheers, Keith. It's my pleasure, man. Anytime. All the best to you.